Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Charles Mba. I'm the program leader at DataFi. I'll be hosting the session investigating COVID-19 procurement funds, a statistical and Venngage approach. DataFi is a data development organization that employs technological tools to provide access to information and data for socioeconomic development and corporate sector growth. With me to facilitate the session is Ijoma Okereke of the Premium Time Center for Investigative Journalism. Before we proceed to the session properly, we just like to take a poll. So just go to www.slido.com, enter this passcode F024, and then answer the questions for the pool to give us a foundation of, or a guide, or a guide or a map on how this section is going to go. Thank you. So we just do this for about 3 minutes, and then we'll kick off to the main discussion for today. So the code is in the chat session. F024 is in the chat session.
So we have so far, nobody's done any. Charles, do you want me to go to the second question?
Okay, Helly, please go to the second question. Hello, Haley. Can we go to the third question? All right. Thank you very much, Haley. Okay, so can anyone see my screen?
It's just loading. We can see now.
Okay. Okay, so straight to it, we'll go into the discussion for today's session, which is investigating COVID-19 procurement funds, a statistical and Venngage approach. So the government at various levels in different countries across the world have committed funds and resources to the response of the impact of COVID-19. Most of these funds have come from also national and international organizations. With a lot of these funds being available out there, there is a very high tendency of corruption cases with respect to procurement processes. A typical example is what's happening in Lithuania, where the president of Lithuania Cancer Patients Coalition is being alleged of an informal intermediary between foreign companies and Lithuanian authorities that were scrambling to purchase a large amount of COVID-19 reagents. Also, an analysis done by DataFight shows that about $1.4 million worth of project was contracted to unverify. With all these ongoing, a lot of youths have taken the backseat in terms of governance and demand for accountability. However, in the past 2 weeks or 1 month, something different happened in Nigeria. What started as a clamor for an end to police brutality turned into a demand for accountability and good governance. With this kind of development, we are looking forward to seeing the youths, not just in Nigeria or in Africa, but across the world, taking claim to the tag of being leaders of today, not just leaders of tomorrow. And that process to begin to claim the tag of being leaders of tomorrow, of being leaders of today and not leaders of tomorrow, starts with being knowledgeable of how to investigate COVID-19 procurement funds using a lot of digital tools such as Venngage that will be taught to us today. So straight to it, given a procurement data like COVID-19 procurement data, one thing that comes to mind is what approach do I take to analyze this data? Okay, from the survey that went on, a lot of us are interested in visualization. We know that a data journalism process starts from, or investigation process starts from, first of all, getting the data. that's data gathering, cleaning the data, carrying out data analysis, and lastly, visualizing this data. But trust me, you can't go about carrying out visualization without, first of all, having the data gathered, a clean data, and then analyzing the data. So one easy and quick way to ensuring a good visualization, especially for procurement and COVID-19 procurements like this, is to carry out a very good data analysis. And a good way to carry out a data analysis that links to a very good visualization is to employ these 5 statistical tools for data analysis. So first of all, giving a procurement data or any data set at all, but for this particular session, we are focusing more on the COVID-19 procurement data. So giving a procurement data, you want to ask yourself, okay, what do I want to get from this data? So the first thing that comes to your mind is, while you're asking the question of what, which is one of the questions we ask in investigation processes, you want to look at what is the composition of the data, what comparisons can I make from this data, okay, what's the location of the data, or what locations are contained in this data, then what's the distribution of this data probably over time, over a given period of let's say years or months, and then you want to check out the relationship between the various variables and components of this data. So having these 5 analytical tools in mind, or having them before you whenever you want to carry out any form of investigation, be it just to carry out analysis that will give you a textual content, or analysis that will give you a visual content, it's always very important for you to have these 5 statistical tools. And having these 5 statistical tools doesn't just help you with analysis, like I said earlier, it also helps you to determine what kind of visualization you will get as an output. So we know that looking at a composition tool, we hope to be looking at a comparison tool. We hope to at the end be able to look at, okay, what's the efficiency of the data set? What's the position of variables in the data set? And then how do the variables or the components of this data set, how do the components of this data set vary? Then looking at the composition, we also speak to efficiency, we also speak to scale, then distribution, just trend, outliers, causalities, and effectiveness, while geography of the data helps you to look at location, which could be represented on the map. So like I said earlier, employing these 5 statistical tools helps you to get like a very good visual representation. So when you have a data set before you and you ask the question of, okay, what analysis do I want to do? What kind of visualizations do I want to come up with? And you're able to put before you these 5 statistical tools of comparison, composition, distribution, relationship, and geography. Then you'll be able to tell, okay, at the end, I'm hoping to get either a bar chart, either a pie chart, either a line chart, either a stack bar chart or a column bar chart. So when you're carrying out a comparative analysis, so you have it at the back of your mind that, okay, if I'm having a COVID-19 procurement data set before me and I want to carry out a comparative analysis, then the best way to represent this will be on a bar chart. For a composition analysis, you hope to represent this on a pie chart. Then for trend analysis or time series analysis, which you could also call distributive analysis, you'll be hoping to represent this on line charts or scatter plots. Then for geographic analysis, you'll be hoping to represent these on a map. So these are a few examples of tools that could be used for these statistical tools. So outside using either any of the visualization tools such as bar chart, composition for pie chart or line chart, we should always remember that one important visualization that we often neglect is tables. Tables could be used for both comparison, for both composition and both relationship analysis, especially when we are dealing with a very small data set. So it will make more sense for you to create it will not make any sense for you to create a chart if the data can be analyzed or interpreted using a table. So you could use a table when you need to compare or look on individual values, when you require precise values, when your value involves multiple units of measure, or when the data has to communicate quantitative information but not trends. Then column chart is best used for comparative analysis, or where you need to employ percentages between 2 to 7 variables, or like I pointed out here, 2 to 7 groups. So why column charts? Why you could use column charts to compare values for different categories or compare value changes over a period of time. You could also use it for data. You could also use it for a data set that has dimensions such as time dimensions in either years, in quarters, in months, in weeks, or in hours. So you could also use your column chart for numerical axis. You could also use your column chart for your column chart. For your column chart, the numerical axis must also start from 0, which is also a very, very important point of note. Then your horizontal bar chart, just like the column chart, could also be used for comparative analysis, but in this case, it is employed most times if you have longer category names. Like take for instance, you want to plot a visualization for let's say variable names that are very long and cannot well contained in a column chart, then you could employ a horizontal column chart. Yeah. So the essence of making sure that you're using the right column chart, be it horizontal column chart or just the normal column chart, is to ensure a good visualization, because by using visualization such as graphs and maps, it provides an easy and an accessible way to see and understand trends. So what you want your audience to do is to be able to understand trends very easily without too much complexities. So it is always very, very necessary for you to have, or for you to make a good pick of the right chart, be it column chart, especially with respect to the characteristics of the variables in your data set. Then we'll just go straight to a stack column chart, which could be used for composition analysis. As you could see here on my slide, I have January, February, months of the year. And then for each month of the year, I have like 3 bars for each. So these 3 bars could be used to compare, let's say, okay, looking at a budget data, for instance, we could use on a price data, for instance, we could use these 3 charts to compare, let's say, price for the first column, or the first bar, price for maybe food in a particular state for the month of January, in the second state for the month of January, or in the third state for the month of January. Or you could also use this, let's speak to procurement data, for instance. You could also use this to compare budget cost for a particular MDA in the month of January, budget cost for the second MDA in the month of January, or budget cost for the third MDA in the month of January also. Same applicable to the months of February down to December. So stacked column charts, just like your pie charts, helps you to carry out composition analysis, or visual composition analysis. Then, like I said earlier, the line graph is best employed when you need to show or display the relationship between 2 types of information, or you need to show trend over time. Then, just like the stacked column chart, the pie chart is used for composition analysis. So, take for instance, just like my colleague will be speaking in the next session, or in a follow-up session to this, you see how the pie charts could be employed to show the budgeted amount or contracted amount for different MDAs in the COVID-19 procurement data. So you could use it to like just differentiate. Okay, what percentage did a particular MDA get? What percentage was budgeted to a particular MDA? What percentage was budgeted to the other MDA? So it gives a very good percentage composition of a particular data set. Then last but not the least is your map. So you could use your map to carry out visual analysis of locations. So given a particular data set, okay, like a COVID-19 procurement data set, I want to be able to tell, okay, on the map, which locations in, let's say, Nigeria have where palliatives given to. So if that particular information is on the procurement data set, we'll be able to represent that visually on a map, for instance, or a country map. So, having said this, I want to reiterate that as much as you're interested in data visualization, you should always keep it at the back of your mind that the key to a very good data visualization is analysis of the data. And like I said earlier, you could look to analyzing your data to get a very good visualization by looking at these 5 key statistical analysis tools, which includes composition, comparison, location, distribution, and relationship. So if you tell yourself that, okay, given a particular data set, I want to create a visual representation of the data set, but okay, what dimension do I want to speak to? So you pick a composition set, you just have it at the back of your mind that, okay, carrying out a composition analysis of the data set, I should be able to get a good visual analysis or good visual content that represents the composition analysis. And the best thing that comes to mind is visualization tools like your stats column chart and your pie chart. So just like also the comparison tool, you get a good visualization content on a bar chart. Then for distribution, line graphs, for location, maps, and then for relationship, also line graphs. So with that, I'll hand you over to Ijoma Okereke, who will take you through who will walk you through making use of Venngage to produce very wonderful visual content, especially while also considering these 5 statistical tools. Hello, IJ.
Hi, Charles. Thank you very much. Okay, so now I can share my screen. Good day, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'll just go straight to using Venngage as a tool for investigating COVID-19 procurement funds. Can we all see the screen? I think we can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, all right. So Charles has said so much about the need to first understand what you are going to be. Okay, sorry, this is like too fast. So before you start using Venngage, you need to excuse me, sorry. So I started by saying that COVID-19 has altered the way everything is done because of how fast we're seeing the whole thing happening. We don't know how the government is able to award contracts, who is procuring what. No one knows how much is used to procure what. You don't even know the duration for an item or service to be procured, and even the contractors. For us here in Nigeria, we have what we call the Bureau of Public Procurement, and that is an institution that is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that every contract that is awarded to contractors pass through the right process. And so Section 42 and 43 of the PPA, the Public Procurement Act, specifies that in cases of emergency, single procurement process can be adopted. I was able to list out the disadvantage of using the single source of procurement. It can be very risky, it can be very non-competitive. So absence of healthy competition results in lack of interest because there is nothing to keep the supplier on its toes. Single procurements can also lead to bribery and corruption, where an official may choose to favor his or her company. And then it can, in situation where there are unstable prices, the buyer can face difficulty in if there is just one source where goods are procured. So we're moving straight to Venngage. Thankfully, I was able to see the results from the polls, and majority of you don't even use Venngage or don't understand how Venngage is used. And I was like, okay, I'm glad that this session is going to be handling that. So what are the kind of things you need to have in mind first before you want to use Venngage? Just like every other statistical tool, what message do I want to put out? Is it information? Do you want to compare? Do you want to state a process? Then there's also something called mind sketching. How do I want it to look like? Venngage offers templates to help you choose which is more suitable. Then when you begin the process on Venngage, you always look out for your font styles and sizes, colors, then a theme that resonates with the content that you want to put out. Then you always use Google and YouTube when you are stuck, and this can always help guide you. Then you can also review with your colleagues. So this is COVID-19 emergency procurement in Nigeria, and this table or this graph shows the different ministries or different agencies of the federal government of Nigeria that have been able to access COVID-19 funds, especially in the heat of COVID-19. We can see Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Abuja. They were able to access the sum of 1.5 naira. Ministry of Water Resources, 1.3 billion naira, and it keeps dropping down. I was able to design this this infograph with Venngage. So how did I do it? Likewise, this as well. But so on Google, you can just search for Venngage. And before I was able to get to this place, there's always the free version of Venngage. So in my organization, we have the paid version, but there's always the free version. But you also understand that the paid version have more options than the free version. So I'm trying to see if I can go back to how I registered here. So when you click on Venngage, when you type Venngage on Google, so it's actually not taking me back. The first thing that is going to ask you is to sign up, and you put in your information. Then it's going to ask you how you would work, what sector you work. Are you a student? Do you work with the NGO arm? Do you work with the government? It's going to show you that. Then it's also going to ask you the kind of information you want. Do you want it more, do you want it in a pie chart or a table or a graph? So when you pick all of those, then it will take you to the working page. So this is the working page. And so you can see it's also directing you, click create to use this template, and create. Okay, so I should have actually checked what I was clicking. Sorry guys, Venngage can be so slow, especially when you don't have a very stable network or internet connectivity. So we're trying to replicate this here. So you can see some of the templates here. It always comes with templates. Informational, is that what you want to do? Timeline, and all of that. So I'll go here, my design. I'll click this because I'm creating a new one now. Okay, so I have different templates here to choose from. Then I can now customize it to how I want it to look like. So let me just pick this one. And this is what we're going to be using. This is where our data is. This is where I extracted the data I used to create this here. So you can see what to do, where next to go. Exactly, you can see all the pop-up questions. There's a bot here to pull me through the process. When you are done, share or download your finished design. Okay, need more help, this. So now we can use this, but I actually don't need all of this, except probably I want to use the pie chart, but we're trying to replicate what we have there. So I guess I'll just delete this. So I'm just deleting all of this because I don't want too much on my page. I also take this out. I'm trying to be as fast as I can. So I'm just pressing the delete button to take it out. So I come here. The fastest way we do it is just place. You can see chart, pie chart, line, smooth lane, column bar. Whichever one you want, you can just pick it. So I'll go with the bar. So it also provides the chart style for me and the chart type. I'll pick this. So this is where it's asking me to put in the information. I hope we're all following. So it doesn't look like I'm talking to myself. Hello?
Hi, we're following. We can
Okay,
still
all right,
see,
thank
yeah.
you. Okay. So this is the bar chart. This was what I clicked, and this was what came up. So everything is still scattered. So I'll come here and put in the data sets here. So here we have the document in a PDF format. And if I want to copy and paste it to, it's going to look disorganized when I paste it here. So what I will do is to transfer this document, convert it to an Excel format. And yeah, so I have it here already. I just converted it already. Sorry, I'm too fast because of the time. So I have it here already. I have just 8 ministries here. And all I'll do is to paste it. So I've pasted it, and you can see it looking all mixed up here. This is what it looks like here. You can see that there's no spacing, everything is just rough. So I'll click it again. When you double click, it brings out this information here. So check the chart style that is more convenient for you. And then you come to settings. So this is where you can be able to work on what you've been, the data set you've put there. So you see when I click show x-axis, it deactivates the x-axis. So this is what happens when I activate it. This is what happens when I click it again. The y-axis, see, that's taking the names of the ministries. I mean, basically the information that you need by the y-axis. But we actually need this, so I'm not going to take that out. Then show legend. You can see how it's looking. It doesn't look more presentable for me, and I'll leave it like this. Many things you can do here to just, customize your charts, your infograph. So what is the title of my bar chart? COVID-19 procurement. See, it's showing by this side. So because of time, I don't think you can be able to beat it. And Nigeria will use Naira, so that's going to be on the prefix. Okay. So if you notice, the values here are, they're not arranged. They're not arranged in terms of from the lowest to the highest. So I think we should just rearrange that and make it look more presentable. And you can just do that here. Sorry, where do I do it again? Oh, God. I had it somewhere. I think I've lost it. My network is really acting up here. So
Hello, IJ. Wow.
Hi, Charles. I think she might have had some network problems, so she's left the call now. So do you mind taking over?
Yeah. Okay. So she actually prepared for that session to walk us through Venngage. It's a nice session that I prepared for. So maybe I'll just still walk us through what I talked about earlier, which is the 5 statistical tools. So just to recap, while we wait for Ijama to maybe join us on the call again, so I'll just give us another rundown of just a rundown of what I said earlier. So the 5 statistical tools. Always remember this when you want to carry out any visualization tasks. It's as important as the output of your visualization itself. So you would want to look at giving a particular data set. You will want to look at what's the composition of this data. So while I was going through it, I just had to try as much as possible to run through everything just to meet up with time. But given a data set before you, so ask yourself, okay, what's the composition of this data? And you could look at the composition of the data by, first of all, looking at the composition of each variables. So given a procurement data set, for instance, you know that, okay, you have a column or a variable that is known as contracted amount. You have a variable that is known as budgeted amount. You have the name of the contractor, and then you have also the title or the name of the project. So most importantly, when we are carrying out procurement or any investigation that has to do with procurement, we always try to look at the difference between the contracted amount and then the budgeted amount to see if there is a red flag that is lying in there. Then another thing you want to look at is, okay, what's the composition of the contractors that are there? So it's also another aspect of analysis you could look at, looking at the composition of the contractors, especially by checking it against a specific procurement or contracting guidelines that we have in Nigeria under the Bureau of Public Procurement, to see if those that have been awarded these contracts are actually duly registered under setting guidelines of a particular country or setting guidelines of a particular procurement processes. It's by carrying out this kind of analysis that we're able to come up with a figure of $1.4 million as amount of contract being contracted with unverifiable contractors in Nigeria. So with this, we could just say, okay, for a particular contractor, social amount of contract was awarded to him, and then we could put that up on for comparative analysis, a bar chart, or for composition analysis on a stacked column chart. Yeah. So always very important to have these 5 statistical analysis tools before us, before we carry out any visual content creation. I'm so sorry that we lost Ijoma. It would have been a very, very interesting and an exciting session with her on how to make use of Venngage. But with the level of arrangement we have for this session and for the organization of this summit, we hope to provide a follow-up and resource materials to participants to be able to follow up with learning this how to use the Venngage tool. Thank you very much.
There was one specific question, which maybe is for Ijoma, about whether Venngage applies a watermark if you make graphics using it. Do you know the answer to that one?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Did you get the answer?
Yeah, thank you.